who are extremely concerned about the level of insecurity in the country, and we felt we have a constitutional and moral responsibility to call the attention of the authorities to take all the necessary measures because the level of insecurity in the country has become something that we cannot simply, tolerate. So, to this end, various civil society organizations, over 74 organizations, have come together to reflect and call the attention of the authority to take necessary steps to deal with insecurity in the country. So here with me are the various civil society leaders that will be leading us to this press conference. Thank you. You are all welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nigeria is in dire straits. All over the country, Nigerian citizens, including children, are killed daily by terrorists and criminals, as well as extrajudicial killings by state actors, with the government doing little or nothing about it. The government, through the Minister of Defense, has insisted callously. The government, through the Minister of Defense, has instead callously abdicated its responsibility and called Nigerian citizens cowards and urged Nigerians to defend themselves. Kidnapping for ransom has assumed an industrial and deadly scale never witnessed on the African continent. Our children are no longer safe in schools, and Nigerian citizens and communities are now pauperized by terrorists who extort large sums while murdering their hostages. We condemn in the strongest terms possible what has now become the government standard state policy of using taxpayers' money to pay terrorists, thereby funding and encouraging terrorism and criminality. President Buhari and his government have failed in their primary duty under Section 14(2)(b) of the 1999 Constitution, which is ensuring the security and welfare of the Nigerian people. Instead, under their watch, Nigeria is now a catalogue for bloodletting, with an unending war in the northeast, with our troops often bearing the brunt of this government's security failures. Gross injustice by President Buhari's government against the Nigerian people, such that peaceful protesters are threatened and attacked by the government security agents, while terrorists carrying out mass murder, rape, maiming, and killing of Nigerians, including women and children, are feted, mollycoddled, and granted amnesty and paid by the government. This is tantamount to funding and supporting terrorists, encouraging murder and the decimation of Nigeria's gallant troops, and amounts to treason against the Nigerian state and people. Terrorist orders attack on unarmed farm communities and reprisal attacks in the face of government inaction and failure to bring the terrorist headsmen and their funders to justice. Large-scale terrorist attacks in the northeast, irresponsibly taxed by the government as banditry in a bid to downplay their criminality. Industrial-scale kidnapping all across the country. Extrajudicial killings by state security agents in various forms. Inter-ethnic violence and menace of political cult gangs and ethnic militia. Furthermore, Section 14 of the Constitution has imposed a duty on the state, that is, the federal government and state and local governments and all governments should invest in the security of life and property of every citizen. And since armed robbery, kidnapping, and murder or culpable homicide are state offense, all arrested suspects should be prosecuted by state attorney generals. Nigeria is completely under-policed. As a matter of urgency, more security personnel should be employed, trained, and motivated to defend the society. When an American citizen was recently kidnapped in Niger State, no ransom was paid. Yet a team of US troops invaded our own country, killed 2 or more of the kidnappers, and freed the abducted American.
Thank you. So, in view of the foregoing observations, we have come together to make the following demands on the Nigerian state, led by the President, Muhammadu Buhari. This government, under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, has failed to protect Nigerians in their duty under Section 14, subsection 2B of the 1999 Constitution as amended, and we hold the President solely responsible because the buck stops at the desk of the President. We note, however, also that in holding the President solely responsible because the buck stops at his desk, we note the complicity of state governments also in this gross dereliction of duty, and therefore the complicity of the political class. As civil society organizations, we call on the President to take the immediate steps. One, it is not too late for the President to provide political and moral leadership for the security crisis and ensure governmental actions are humane in tandem with Section 17, subsection 2C of the Constitution. Two, the Nigerian Police Council, established by Section 153 of the Constitution, is composed of the President, the Inspector General of Police, the Chair of the Police Service Commission, and the 36 state governors. Under the Constitution, the Nigerian Police Council is empowered by the Constitution to administer, organize, and supervise the Nigerian Police Force. This Nigerian Police Council should be called to meet regularly to address the crisis of insecurity in the country. We note that this council has met only once, when there was a funfair around it being inaugurated. It held no meeting, actually, because the inauguration was a ceremony, and it has not met since. And under our Constitution, it is very clear, and under the Police Act 2020, that the Police Council takes reports from state police commands, makes decisions that are then supposed to be implemented by the President. And if the Council does not meet, you can't review situation across the country, you can't take decisions, and you cannot implement decisions. So we demand that this council should meet, be convened immediately. We also demand that there should be an end to impunity for abuse of power and sectionalism, particularly as it is manifested through his appointments. And we demand that there should be balancing the needs for competence with the need for the federal character principle. In this way, the President will demonstrate that every part of Nigeria matters, as sectional appointments appear to also fuel sectional violence and also drive the competing sectional narratives that is undermining security. We also demand that amnesty for terrorists and abductors should stop immediately. This seems to be a consensus by the political class. Federal government grants amnesties to insurgents. State governments grant amnesty to gangsters and bandits. We demand that this should stop. Youth ransoms paid to criminal gangs is used by these criminal gangs to purchase arms and ammunition to attack communities. As we have seen in the recent example of Zamfara State, where some of the vehicles that were given to so-called repentant bandits were used in the attack on villages and in the ransacking of other villages. As security is technologically driven, the government must invest in and acquire the necessary equipment to deal with the menace of terrorism, banditry, and abduction. We know the Nigerian Governor's Forum has been talking for ages now about drones. We have not seen one single drone. The use of technology is very important. 5, we demand that we should take responsibility and end the persecution of the media and free speech, both of which are foundations of a democratic state. It is not the fault of the media if events happen and they report it. What we should deal with is to make sure that those events don't happen the way they happen, so that the media will not have to report it the way it has happened. So that's very important for us as civil society. 6, that we mobilize rich Nigerian assets, our rich Nigerian assets, to address the insecurity situation across the country and seek international cooperation to ramp up security assets, particularly of our neighbors around the continent. This is the time for us to actually play a leadership role on the continent. 7, where the president fails to fulfill his constitutional duties as stated above, we demand he steps aside or the National Assembly initiates impeachment proceedings against him on grounds of gross misconduct as provided for in Section 143 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. And remember, everywhere we reference the president, he stands in for the executive in the country, and that includes the state governors. Where security is failing and you are folding your arms, saying you don't know what to do, we demand that you step down, or the legislature, the appropriate legislature at the national and the state level should take the responsibility and initiate impeachment proceedings against such dereliction of duty. In conclusion, we remain hopeful as citizens of Nigeria and call on all Nigerians to keep hope alive as we bond together and build a nation where true peace and justice shall reign. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Avi and Jay. At this point, maybe if there are some questions or seeking clarification, we'll be happy, to take it. So, is there anybody who wants to ask a question? Okay. Your name and your media.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you have one.
Good afternoon. I report for Nigeria Info FM. You joined the call by some Nigerians that the state of emergency.
Any other question? Okay, Sister Annie will respond to that.
Is it you are the emergency person?
Oh, okay, I should respond to it.
Respond to the state of emergency.
Well, we are already in a crisis,
yes.
And there's no doubt that people at local, state, and national level, everybody is crying. And there's no better time than now to declare state of emergency of insecurity in the country. Women have been attacked, young people have been attacked, old people have been attacked, everybody is under attack, including even the security themselves. The number of policemen and army and other security output that have been killed, and even properties of the security that have been destroyed, suggests that we are in a state of serious crisis, and therefore we need to have state of emergency. Now, the issue we are putting here now is that rather than using the money to go and empower criminals and crooks to regroup and buy more arms to kill all of us, why can't the government, the governors and the federal government, get this money, get the necessary required facilities that can fish out these groups, unless there's a connivance with some people, and we can see that some dubious people in government, both at the state and federal, they go and pay this ransom, claim that they have not paid, and later they will come and tell us that they have paid. So this means that it is a business It is a business by some people not even allow the insecurity to end. And we as responsible and patriotic citizens, we cannot allow that. They are elected officials, they have the responsibility to ensure that they secure the country. They themselves too, if they continue this way, after they leave power, they are not protected. The former chief of air staff, we saw how he was wasted. When they were there and we were calling their attention, they were calling us all sorts of names. So the issue of insecurity, if today you think you are protected today, you don't know what will happen to you tomorrow. So that is why it is the collective responsibility of all of us to ensure that all of us are safe in this country. And we call on government, instead of siphoning or wasting the so-called security board, let the governors use that money to impose and support the safety and security of Nigerians. This is just the reason why we think the state of emergency is necessary, because already we are in a insecurity situation in the country. I don't know if there's any response again or any question.
Yeah.
Okay, sister.
Thank you very much. The issue of the state of emergency, we know that there's so much going on in the Northeast. Up till this moment, no state of emergency has been declared in any of the states. Where there is war going on, war has not been declared up till this moment. I challenge the Nigerian government to tell us that they have declared war. When you declare war, it changes the tone of the way you strategize, of the way you construct yourself to be able to address the situation. Because war is not declared, attention is not being given to the Nigerian military. The military does not have enough equipment. Do they have enough? Is their welfare being paid attention? Do they have their kind of equipment? What is the meaning for security votes? In all of the states, we have the security vote. The prosecution, arrest of criminals. Let us deal with issues. They can call here talking about herdsmen, banditry, kidnappers. And a criminal is a criminal. And under the state law, from the Constitution, Section 153, commands that in it, the police, the governors have the right. The state attorney generals have the right to prosecute anybody who is charged. And so where are the arrests? We've been talking about herdsmen or banditry, kidnappers and all. Where are those who have been arrested? And so a lot of the states that are having the issues of insecurity, that is so serious, that many people cannot go to their homes anymore. Is that not enough to declare a state of emergency? So you can start it by going to the areas where people are not free to move again, to declare emergencies. You may not have to declare it in the whole country at once. But I'm still shocked as a Nigerian that where we have the issue of the insurgents, war has not been declared. We need to prepare the military. The Nigerian military is one of the best in the world. And they went to free West Africans, gone to Somalia, they've gone to different places in the world. And then they are in the country. They can't do anything because we have politicized insecurity. The issue of security, mothers, Chibok girls are still locked. There are so many Chibok girls that have not returned home. Leah is still not at home with the parents. There are so many of our girls that have been kidnapped. If you were a father, and we are asking the president that, if you were a father of any of these children that are still under captivity, how would you assess it? How do you sleep here at night? We want to let the president know that every Nigerian child is his child.
The matter.
It's his child, and so he needs to fight for every Nigerian child. And I'm a mother, and we are looking at so many. The most vulnerable people are being terrorized across the country. We need to do something. We need to prepare our troops to take control. And so we call on him again as the father of the nation to rise up to the responsibilities. As written by our own, the anthem, "Arise, O compatriot, I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest." And the issue of appointment that they talked about, we are blessed in diversity. We can't do without one another. But we need to recognize that diversity. And then we have an engine room. More than 62% of Nigerians are youth, are young people. That's an engine room for development. How are we harnessing that? How are we thinking of employment? How are we building the issues of education? Public education in Rwanda, many of the private schools have closed because they are paying attention to public education. So we need the social sector to be looked at. COVID-19 has opened a lot of things about the health sector. And so there are lots of things. Even in the health sector, we need to declare some emergencies because women in Nigeria, those women who are getting pregnant or who are pregnant, are working in the maternity death road. They are on the maternity death road. It's a disaster. And then COVID-19 came. Okay. God bless Nigeria.
Any other questions?
Okay, ask your question.
No, turn
it on.
You did not put
It's
the
not on.
Oh,
Okay.
so maybe use this one.
Or maybe it's not actually your positioning.
Listed a number of recommendations.
Yeah.
And I'm also happy that we're able to face the scenario as it is, exactly the way it is. So beyond this press briefing, is there any pragmatic action the coalition is going to take? You know, once the president failed to take your recommendation, that's number one. Is there a time frame you are looking at, probably a week or 2 weeks, if the president decided not to take some of the recommendations? We all know that the National Assembly, the way it is, might be, quote unquote, difficult to say they want to impeach the president. What pragmatic action is this coalition going to take? Is there going to be a massive protest like we witnessed, like 2015, years back before it came on board?
Just quickly before my colleague to add to that. We are in a constitutional democracy, and we believe in also rule of law, and we believe that we have fundamental right as citizens to protest. We pray that we do not get to the extent that the government, the president, the governors will not listen to Nigerians on this, because they themselves think about it. They are also involved. They cannot be protected at a point. So I think it is, a clerical form that we have put, and we know that as responsible democracy that we're supposed to be operating, they are supposed to listen to the citizens. Civil society is not a violent gang organization, and we are not an opposition group. We have our responsibility as a responsible civil society group, which is to do advocacy, to educate, sensitize, and mobilize the citizens to be able to do the right thing positively. Okay. So if the government listen to Nigerians, listen to the civil society, we will not have it will not have taken us to the extent of doing anything that is outside within the confine of rule of law or the powers that the Constitution has given to us. So we want to stay like that we hope that our elected representative will listen to the yearning and the aspiration of Nigerians and take action. The Constitution is very clear. If anybody refuses to take certain action, there are sanctions and penalty that constitutionally that he or she can be met with, So I think that's the response. There are different level of sanction and response that this will come, but we are not a violent gang group.
Thank you very much. Let me say that as civil society organizations, we are not afraid of protest. However, we will not be drawn into unnecessarily bringing our members out so that the government again can mobilize programs to attack insensible society. We believe that as a coalition of civil society organizations, we will continue to discuss and debate on modalities that we can adopt, to champion this cause. This is just one of the few things that members of the civil society are planning, are planning, and which we are currently enforcing to ensure that this government listens to Nigerians. We believe that today, the only people who are safe literally because of the level of security that they have are just a few Nigerians. The president, the vice president, the governors, the three deputy governors, and chief of army staff, service chiefs. Outside of all these people that I have mentioned, nobody is safe again in this country. And we are in a precarious situation. The civil society are doing the government a favor by addressing this concern. The president has been told in clear terms that if he knows that he is no longer fit, to carry out his responsibility, he should step aside. And we should also ask that the National Assembly can adopt a doctrine of necessity of sorts. It is not necessary that they can adopt a doctrine of necessity of sorts to rescue this nation. The National Assembly should know that this country is failing. The Senate President and the Speaker should not shy away from responsibility. Should not shy away from responsibility to stand in the gap for this nation. They are the representative of Nigeria. And it's also important that at this point, based on what the society has highlighted, you realize that we're in a very, very terrible situation. Some people are trying to open the gate of hell on Nigeria by asking that we should give bandit blanket amnesty. That's like opening the gate of hell. We realize that after the Kagara kidnapping, another one happened again yesterday in State Niger State. And possibly some are still happening today. Imagine we giving amnesty to bandits. We'll be opening the gate of hell, and Nigeria will not be able to have an end to this kind of a situation. So we have made ourselves very clear, and we think the president should listen to Nigerians. If he doesn't have the capacity to do that, and also let me state that God has given us, mankind, the wisdom to be able to address our challenges. The idea of our leaders asking God to come and help us is not what they should say. Asking God to come and help Nigeria is a failure of leadership. If you no longer have the capacity to govern, please resign, not just at the presidency level, including some of the governors who can no longer help their states. And also let us not deceive our states. The governors themselves have not exploited every avenue that is at their disposal to be able to secure their state. Because they know, they collect a security vote, and what are they doing with this security vote beyond political gangsterism? Okay. And so, insecurity, crime has been commercialized in Nigeria. Banditry is now an economy, and nobody is safe. So, at this point, all Nigerians must rise up to join us in this call. Everybody must call on Mr. President that this country is on the precipice. And if we don't do anything, we got help Nigeria.
Okay, because we have our colleagues from online. Hold on. We have our colleagues from online. I don't know if any of our colleagues want to just say one or two things.
Check the chat.
What's the chat?
Oh, okay.
The chat. Can we have anybody who want to say anything? I can see Amy, I can see Monday, I can see Nena, I can see Jonathan, I can see Kenneth, I can see, Oladele, and I can see Bode, Baba.
By the way,
quite a number of them.
Wait,
so,
by the way, hold on. By the way, we said it's a coalition of civil society organizations. So what you are seeing on the screen are our colleagues that are not based in Abuja, that are part of this coalition, part of this effort, and they are based in different parts of the country, and they have joined us online as we read a statement that we all agreed, jointly agreed to. So that's why we are also asking if they have some opinion to do.
Otherwise, you can. She want to say something, right? Okay.
Thank you. Like it has been said, there is no law that that says that nobody, I mean, the civil society cannot protest. We have the right under the Constitution to protest. But if you observe very well, before we get to this point today, there have been series of consultations, and having in mind that a lot has been said, a lot has been done, to ensure that the crisis within the security sector is checked, but this has not happened, which necessitated the civil society coalition to meet and discuss and come out with a solution that let us address this press conference. And of course, the truth is that as we are addressing this, we are also provide solution to the president and the state government. And if they fail, we have equally called on other authorities, including the National Assembly, to proceed to impeach the president if the necessity arises. Which of course we are being pushed towards that direction now. And I can tell you that when things is no longer the way it should be, there shall be a situational approach. And whatever situational approach we are giving to whatever is happening in this country will be within the context of the Nigerian Constitution, which includes protest, mass mobilization, against not only the president, but any other authorities that might have been named on their hold of office. This is very essential. So, but as it is now, there is no plan to make any protest. But of course, if there is necessity for that, of course, the situation will determine that, and we shall meet with all various stakeholders, and we shall embark on whatever we feel is necessary to bring the security situation in this country to normal. Because we don't have any other place to run to. This is the only country we have. There is no way you want to travel from here to Lagos, from here to the east, and you will not be afraid. How many people have the force to travel by here? It is very, very ridiculous. It is mind-boggling. It is sad. When you see some of the things that are happening in the security sector, it is very, very sad. And that is why we are calling on Mr. President to wake up from his slumber and do what is right for Nigerians, under which he has taken the oath of allegiance to protect the life of the citizens of this country. And if he feels that he is incapable or incompetent to do so, he should therefore just step aside and let someone who is competent. Mind you, this is some of the slogans they also had in 2015 that made Nigerians to feel that, well, we are going to be safe under this regime. But it's like everything has been thrown into the dustbin. And it is important that Nigerians should call Mr. President to order and ensure that what is necessary is being done so that people can move freely, people can do things. You can sleep with your two eyes closed. Right now, nobody is doing that. Just about a few minutes ago, a plane has crashed. Air Force plane, it crashed just around Abuja here. Who knows what has caused it? Because they were going towards Mina. Whether they were going for operation and it has been sabotaged, of course we don't know yet. So these are very, very sad situations in our country today, and we all need to wake up to it. Both the civil society and the media, we need to wake up to this responsibility and ensure that our government is doing the right thing. Thank you.
Austin.
Let me take online.
Yes.
Everybody is online.
Okay. All right.
Everybody, please go ahead. You can have this online, please go ahead.
Afterwards, can you we are not. No, I say afterwards I'll speak. Civil society is not violence anymore, but things have gotten bad enough for us to.
Yeah.
So just to also remind them.
That's true.
I think one of the presidents was. Thank you, Bode. Austin.
I want to just draw attention to the conversation on the state of emergency with respect. I think it is important that we try to have a clarity
CDD not reviewed the statement after the kidnap in Niger State recently, the boys in school. We asked the government to declare a state of emergency. What we meant was that a temporary system of rule that deals with an extremely dangerous and difficult situation. Right now, Nigeria is in that situation. From the north, the south, the east, and the west. Put up measure in place. If ranching is a temporary measure, put it in place. Whatever temporary measure to arrest the insecurity that has become a norm in the state of Nigeria should be addressed very quickly.
Is this yours?
That does not require an uphill task. We have been told that the president does not speak too many times. He doesn't need to speak. Let him act, we will see. We want to see insecurity being addressed. And we see it will converge again to celebrate that Nigeria is back to normal. At this particular time, Nigeria is not in a normal system. I will declare a state of emergency very quickly and very urgently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Austin. I think we have come to, because we didn't want to take much of your time, because you need to also rush to office to do your stuff. So we will stop here.
Oh, I thought you maybe wanted to take one more.
No.
I thought you wanted to take one more.
No. I think
it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Unless there's anybody with a critical question that he or she wants to ask. Otherwise, we want to draw the curtain here and just
sorry.
And I just want to thank you very much for coming. And please note that, again, civil society is not politician. We are not politicians, we are not in opposition, we are not anti-government. But any policy that is anti-people, we will resist that. We will resist any repression and oppression by anybody. We will resist that. We have that constitutional right as Nigerians, as citizens, to do that. So let us get the message very clear. We want to state once again that the government at federal and state, they have failed us and they need to wake up to make sure that they secure this country. That is why they are elected. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. So let me quickly go on.
These people should go and be asking themselves.
My name, I thought I read address.
Okay. Practice center. Practice center.
I'm ordering you again.
I don't see your response. No, the one that I sent you. I think I sent you.
Okay, all right.
Is it possible for somebody to snap?
Yeah, because I reach out to Easy.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, can I snap that?
Which one?
You don't send it to my colleague. No, you send that to me. Yeah, I like. I send it to you.
Oh, I'm on. Yeah. Okay. 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 So that was the press. Are we ready? Are you on?
It's Rafsanjani. Ralph, don't talk about COVID-19. You are a COVID illiterate. Don't talk about COVID-19.
Alpha.
You see this bandit cover that all of us use.
So
Okay.
we've just had the press statement by the civil society, and we are live on Akwea TV. We have here Comrade Jaye Gaskia, a presidential aspirant in the 2019 elections. He was one of those who delivered the statement. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Why does the civil society feel that this statement is important?
Because we have reached a point actually in this country where, with the level of insecurity in the country, we have gotten to a state where there are various narratives that are being pushed. So crime is being ethnicized, criminality is being ethnicized, and it's breeding mutual suspicion amongst Nigerians, and it's threatening, peaceful coexistence of Nigerians. And all of this because the state has failed in its primary responsibility to meet and provision the security and well-being of citizens. So we thought that it was important for us as patriots and as Nigerians and as citizens to actually come out and assert the fact that crime is affecting all Nigerians. That crime is not being perpetrated by one section or the other. That it's a universal thing that is happening in Nigeria, and it's happening because of the failure of governance, because poverty is rising, because unemployment is rising, because you have an idle population of youth, that are not being catered for, because you have the education system has collapsed, and all of this has collapsed, and because of that you have a sizable population of Nigerians that are hopeless. Have no vision, have no hope for the future, and so they are resorting to acts of criminality. And that's why in our statement we stated very clearly the nexus between these acts of criminality and the livelihood connection. The fact that crime has become commercialized, it has become a crime that mutually benefits those who are perpetrating the crime and those who seem to be interfacing with the criminals on behalf of society, that is government officials. And so you have a situation where a crime occurs, a ransom is paid. In the release of the ransom by the state, government officials pocket part of the ransom, they deliver what they have been delivered. So you see there's this mutual reinforcement in terms of a commercial benefit. So it has become an enterprise, and it's the reason why crime is not being tackled. It's the reason why the security forces and the law enforcement agents are actually not being trained and equipped, to carry out their responsibilities.
This statement is coming after 5 years or 6 years almost of this president. And we have also a state governor, Nasir El-Rufai, who also issued a statement that seemed to echo some of the points you're raising. Is asking for increase in technology to fight crime. Are we not reacting too late?
Yeah, I mean, as it is, that's why we said, even in the statement, that we are really standing on the edge of a precipice. And that's why we also joined the call for a state of emergency. It is almost too late, but it is not too late yet. We can halt the descent into this conflagration if we act now. But if we persist in the way that we have been going, in this lackadaisical way that the government and politicians have been politicizing insecurity, we might probably not have a country. And remember, the politicking for the elections are going to start soon. By the end of this year, by 2022, politics will be on full swing, meaning all these acts of criminality will become even more politicized, and they will become weaponized by politicians. And at that stage, with all ethnic groups, with all communities already investing in creating and having their own militias, we are simply pushing the country into a Somalia-like situation. And that will not be good, not just for Nigeria, but for Africa. Because you can't disperse a population of 200 million people onto the continent, and you will not have a catastrophic failure across the continent.
Okay, just before you go, Governor El-Rufai also asked for state police, which is one of the contentious issues. What is civil society's position? What's your position on this?
See, state police and state policing, policing everywhere. The most effective policing globally, the most effective strategy of policing globally is a decentralized and devolved policing. In fact, there are very few countries in the world, not even in China, that is a unitary state, where you have a single policing authority. Okay, you usually have policing authorities that are appropriate for each location, and they are autonomous, they are independent, and then you have councils, policing councils, where coordination then happens. Now, so yes, there is a need, an urgent need to decentralize and devolve policing in Nigeria. So, and that will include having state police and state policing. Okay, but there is a lot that needs to be done in terms of that to happen. Constitutional amendment, you have to shift quite a number of things from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. So, for example, prisons, because you can't have a state police force, you can't have state law, and a state police force that is enforcing a state crime, that is prosecuting a state crime, and then you put them in a federal prison. So exactly. So you have so many things that needs to be done, and we need to look at it in that kind of holistic manner in order to be able to do that. I know some people are afraid that governors are going to misuse state police, but you see, the fact is that if we put in enough mechanisms of checks and balances, ensure that unlike the security votes, that when the state police is there, it is actually under the oversight of the state legislature, and that you also have independent ombudsman agencies, where you have civilians and citizens and society in a pool that can independently investigate the actions of such a state police. Then we'll have a situation where we might then be laying the appropriate foundations for tackling insecurity.
Okay, but you also called on the policing council.
Yeah, exactly, Nigerian Policing Council. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, why do we create institutions if we are not going to use them? The Nigerian Police Council is supposed to be a council where the president is the chair, and the governors are members, and includes the IG. One of the functions of the Nigerian Police Council is that it meets to deliberate on the appointment of an Inspector General of Police. Again, it also has input into the deployment of police commissioners to states. So, whereas the IG and the police management has the authority to promote, and the Police Service Commission to promote people, so you can promote people to police commissioner. But if you are going to deploy a police commissioner to states, it also needs to pass through the police council, where governors are represented. And then the other thing is that it says that the police council has, the power for the general oversight of administration and operations of the police. These are huge responsibilities that if we were implementing them, in fact, all of these things that when governors cry and say they don't have appropriate control over the police command in their states will not be there, because the Constitution says they should meet twice, actually, minimum of twice. The Police Act says that they should meet 4 times. Okay? So, and it says that part of the things that they should do when they meet is that they receive complaints and review activities of the commands from the states, and then they make recommendations, which the president and the governors are then supposed, to implement. Wow. So we do need that council to be inaugurated and to become functional.
Wow. So thank you so much for this. We're really glad that the civil society is rising up to the occasion as usual, because this has been the function of civil society all through, and we're very glad that you are always leading the charge. And thank you, those of you who have been watching Akwea TV. We are ending our broadcast today. Thank you very much, and stay tuned.